In a bustling financial institution, an incident unfolds that exposes deep-rooted biases. What starts as a routine banking appointment takes an unexpected turn when blatant discrimination sparks a confrontation that changes lives forever. How will Maya Thompson, a powerful yet humble Black entrepreneur, respond to the disrespect she faces? And what happens when influential figures walk in and witness the truth firsthand? Stick around to find out, and let us know where you're watching from today. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Maya Thompson adjusted her blazer and confidently stepped into the grand marble lobby of Summit Heights Bank. Her heels clicked rhythmically against the polished floors, echoing the determination of a woman who had earned every ounce of her success through years of grit and perseverance. This moment marked the culmination of her efforts. Securing the final piece of financing for her latest real estate project, a community-featured housing development designed to transform the neighborhood where she grew up. Approaching the front desk, she greeted the young receptionist with a calm smile. "Good morning," she said warmly. "I'm Maya Thompson, here for a 10 a.m. meeting with Mr. Harrison." The receptionist glanced at her screen, then back at Maya, her smile faltering slightly as she processed the name. "Let me inform Mr. Harrison that you've arrived," she replied politely. "Please have a seat, Ms. Thompson." Maya nodded and took a seat in one of the sleek leather chairs in the waiting area. It was 9:55 a.m., and her punctuality reflected the efficiency she valued so deeply. She glanced at her phone, skimming through her notes to prepare for the meeting. The loan was practically a done deal. Her credit score was impeccable, her business portfolio robust. This was merely a formality, but Maya understood the importance of optics. Minutes ticked by. At 10:10 a.m., Maya noticed the receptionist glance nervously in her direction and whisper something to a colleague. Her chest tightened slightly, but she chose to remain composed. Poise had always been her best weapon. By 10:30 a.m., Maya decided to inquire. She approached the counter again, her tone polite but firm. "Excuse me, I just wanted to confirm, has Mr. Harrison been informed that I'm here?" The receptionist looked flustered, fumbling with her keyboard. "Yes, ma'am, he's aware. He's finishing up some tasks right now. He'll be with you shortly." Maya nodded, though her patience was starting to wear thin. She returned to her seat, crossing her legs and straightening her posture. She observed other customers being attended to promptly, while the clock seemed to mock her professionalism with every passing second. At 11 a.m., Maya stood again, this time with a sharper edge to her voice. "It's been an hour past my scheduled appointment time. I'd like to know what's causing the delay." The receptionist hesitated before picking up the phone. After a quiet exchange, she hung up and said, "Mr. Harrison will be out shortly." Another half hour dragged on until the bank manager finally emerged. His appearance did little to ease Maya's rising frustration. Gregory Harrison was a middle-aged man with an air of arrogance. His navy suit was perfectly tailored, his slicked-backed hair gleaming under the overhead lights. He approached Maya with a forced smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Miss Thompson, apologies for the wait," he said dismissively. "At a 10 a.m. appointment, it's now 11:45. I'd appreciate it if we could proceed," Maya responded firmly. "Of course," Harrison gestured toward his office. "Right this way." As they walked past the teller stations, Maya couldn't help but notice the subtle glances exchanged by the staff. It was as though her presence had disrupted the unspoken order of the bank. Once inside his office, Harrison motioned for her to sit, then took his time settling into his chair, arranging papers as if she had nothing better to do than wait. Finally, he leaned back and asked, "What can I do for you today, Miss Thompson?" Maya resisted the urge to clench her fists. "I believe you're already aware. I'm here to finalize the loan for the Maple Grove development. All the documents should be in your system." Harrison glanced at his computer screen, clicking his mouse a few times before leaning back again, folding his hands over his stomach. "Ah, yes, the Maple Grove project. That's quite an undertaking." "Yes, it is," Maya replied steadily. "As you'll see, I've met every requirement. My business plan, financial records, and projections have all been reviewed and approved by your underwriting team. This is the final step." Harrison's lips curled into a thin smile. "I see. Well, these things take time, Ms. Thompson. I'll need to review everything again to ensure there are no discrepancies," Maya countered. "I was informed that the loan was already approved, pending your signature." "That's correct," Harrison said condescendingly, "but I like to take a personal look at these matters. You understand, of course." Maya bit the inside of her cheek, her anger bubbling beneath the surface. She recognized this tactic, a deliberate attempt to undermine her authority, but she refused to let him see her rattled. "Take all the time you need," she said smoothly. "I'll wait right here." Harrison's smile faltered ever so slightly, but he nodded and turned back to his screen. Minutes stretched into an hour as he clicked leisurely through her files, occasionally making notes or asking irrelevant questions. Maya answered each one with precision, masking her frustration with unyielding composure. By 12:45 p.m., Maya had reached her limit. She stood abruptly, forcing Harrison to look up in surprise. "Mr. Harrison," she said firmly but calmly, "I value professionalism and respect, and I expect the same from those I do business with. If there's an issue with my application, I'd appreciate it if you could address it directly. Otherwise, I believe we've wasted enough time." Harrison blinked, his demeanor shifting into defensive arrogance. "Ms. Thompson, I assure you I'm just doing my due diligence." Maya met his gaze evenly. "And I assure you, I'm more than capable of recognizing a delay tactic when I see one. If my business isn't welcome here, I'll be happy to take it elsewhere." Before Harrison could respond, a knock on the office door interrupted them. A junior employee, Liam, poked his head in, his expression apologetic. "Excuse me, Mr. Harrison, the regional board members have just arrived for their meeting." The color drained from Harrison's face as he stood abruptly, smoothing his tie. "Of course, please show them to the conference room. I'll be there shortly." Liam nodded but hesitated, glancing at Maya with recognition. Actually, one of the board members specifically asked to see Ms. Thompson. Maya's eyebrows lifted, curiosity piqued. Harrison's expression darkened as he turned to her, his discomfort palpable. "It seems you have quite the connections, Ms. Thompson," he said stiffly. "Yes, it seems I do," Maya replied evenly. She followed Liam out of the office with deliberate grace. The tension in the air was palpable as Harrison trailed behind, his footsteps sharp and hurried against the marble floors. The bank lobby buzzed with quiet murmurs as employees and customers watched the small procession head toward the executive conference room. The doors were propped open, revealing a cluster of impeccably dressed board members engaged in animated conversation. At the center stood Marcus Bennett, a tall, silver-haired man whose commanding presence brightened the space. When he spotted Maya, his face broke into a warm smile. "Maya," he called out, his voice booming with genuine delight. "It's been too long." "Marcus," Maya replied, returning his smile. He extended his hand, but Maya bypassed it, giving him a brief but heartfelt hug. The other board members exchanged curious glances, intrigued by the familiarity. "You're looking well," Maya added, stepping back. "And you're as sharp as ever," Marcus said, gesturing toward a chair. "Please, have a seat. I hope Mr. Harrison has been taking good care of you." The question was innocent enough, but the way Marcus's gaze darted toward Harrison made it clear he suspected otherwise. Maya hesitated for a moment, locking eyes with Harrison, whose expression was stiff and hands fidgety. "Let's just say the morning has been eventful," Maya said diplomatically as she sat down. Marcus's brows furrowed, but he didn't press the issue. Instead, he turned to the other board members. "Everyone, I'd like to introduce you to Maya Thompson, one of the sharpest minds in real estate development. Her Maple Grove project is exactly the kind of forward-thinking investment we need." The board members greeted Maya warmly, some nodding in recognition. Harrison, who had been hovering awkwardly by the door, stepped forward, attempting to regain control of the narrative. "Yes, Maya and I were just finalizing the details of her loan application," he interjected tightly. It's a complex project, and I was ensuring all due diligence was completed. Maya glanced at him, her expression unreadable. That's an interesting way to describe it, she said neutrally but with a subtle challenge. Marcus's sharp eyes didn't miss the underlying tension. Is that so? He asked curiously, turning back to Maya. And how's the process been from your perspective? Maya took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. I've found the underwriting team to be thorough and efficient, she began. However, the final steps of this process have been unnecessarily delayed. Harrison shifted uncomfortably. I assure you, Mr. Bennett, I've been meticulous in my review. We have to ensure all procedures are followed to the letter. Marcus leaned back in his chair, studying Harrison. Meticulous, you say. Maya, did you have an appointment scheduled for this morning? Yes, Maya said firmly. At 10 a.m., I arrived early. Marcus glanced at his watch. And what time is it now? Maya checked her watch. It's nearly 1 p.m. A murmur rippled through the room as the other board members exchanged looks, their expressions ranging from surprise to disapproval. Marcus's jaw tightened, but he maintained his composure. Samuel, he said evenly, I trust there's a very good reason why one of our most promising clients was left waiting for 3 hours. Harrison opened his mouth, then closed it again, his face flushing. I was ensuring everything was in order, he stammered. Marcus turned to Maya. Maya, would you excuse us for a moment? I'd like to have a word with Mr. Harrison in private. Of course, Maya replied, standing gracefully. As she stepped into the hallway, she noticed satisfied glances exchanged among nearby employees. Clearly, Harrison's behavior hadn't gone unnoticed within the ranks. Inside the room, the muffled sound of Marcus's raised voice could be heard, his words sharp and deliberate. Maya allowed herself a small smile but quickly sobered. Moments like these reminded her of the barriers she still faced, no matter how far she'd come. After several minutes, the door opened and Marcus reappeared, his expression calm but resolute. Maya, come back in, he said. She stepped back into the room, her head held high. Harrison remained by the wall, his face pale and demeanor subdued. Marcus gestured for Maya to sit again. I'd like to personally apologize for the way this matter was handled. It's not reflective of the standards we hold at this institution, and steps will be taken to ensure it doesn't happen again. I appreciate that, Maya said, her tone measured. I've always believed in this bank's potential to be a leader in community investment. I hope we can work together to make that vision a reality. Marcus nodded. Absolutely. And as for the Maple Grove project, I'll personally ensure the paperwork is expedited. Consider the loan approved. Those words were a balm to Maya's frustration. She offered Marcus a warm smile. Thank you, Marcus. That means a great deal. As the meeting concluded, Maya shook hands with the other board members, each expressing admiration for her work. When she finally stepped out of the conference room, she felt a mix of relief and triumph. But her mind was already racing with thoughts of how to use this experience to advocate for systemic change. Liam, the junior employee who had first intervened, approached her timidly. Ms. Thompson, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for how you were treated earlier. It wasn't right. Maya placed a reassuring hand on Liam's shoulder. Thank you for speaking up. It takes courage to do the right thing, even when it's not easy. Liam nodded, his face brightening slightly. Maya turned toward the exit, her stride purposeful. This wasn't just a victory for her. It was a step toward something greater. Later, Maya stepped out of the bank's conference room, feeling victorious but reflective. She had come expecting nothing more than a standard transaction, yet the day had spiraled into a glaring reminder of the challenges she continued to face. As she made her way toward the exit, her stride was measured, her head held high, and her mind brimming with thoughts on how to channel this experience into something transformative. The bank lobby was noticeably quieter now, the earlier murmurs replaced by a collective stillness. Employees who had been observing from a distance quickly averted their gazes, though Maya noticed some casting discreet smiles her way. Liam, stationed near the teller counters, offered a small, supportive nod as their eyes met. Before Maya could reach the doors, Marcus appeared beside her, his long strides quickly matching her pace. "Maya, a moment if you don't mind." She stopped, turning to face him. "Of course, Marcus." He glanced around, lowering his voice to ensure privacy. "I wanted to personally thank you, not just for your patience today, but for handling the situation with such grace. You've given us an opportunity to address some systemic issues that, frankly, we should have tackled long ago." Maya tilted her head, her expression thoughtful. "I appreciate that, Marcus. But the reality is, I shouldn't have had to exercise patience in the first place. This isn't just about today. It's about ensuring that every customer, regardless of their background, is treated with respect." Marcus nodded gravely. "You're absolutely right, and I'd like to extend an invitation to you. Our board is forming a task force to review and improve our customer service policies, with a particular focus on equity and inclusion. I can't think of anyone better to advise us than you." The offer caught Maya off guard. While she was used to wearing many hats as a business owner, stepping into a role that could influence institutional change on this level wasn't something she had considered until now. She smiled. "I'd be honored to contribute. Let's make sure what happened today doesn't happen to anyone else." Marcus extended his hand. "Then it's settled. I'll have my office follow up with the details." As they shook hands, the weight of the moment settled over Maya. It wasn't just a win for her. It was a step toward dismantling the biases that plagued spaces like these. As Maya exited the bank, she spotted a familiar face waiting by the curb. A young man in a neatly tailored suit with a camera bag slung over his shoulder. Ethan, her assistant, had been waiting for her call but seemed to have taken the initiative to meet her directly. His face lit up as he saw her approach. "Whew, Ethan, how'd it go?" he asked, opening the door of the sleek black car parked nearby. Maya slid into the passenger seat, exhaling deeply as Ethan joined her on the driver's side. "It was eventful," she replied, her lips curving into a wry smile. "Let's just say the loan is approved, but not without a few bumps along the way." Ethan raised an eyebrow as he started the engine. "Do I even want to know?" Maya chuckled. "You'll read about it in my memoir someday," she joked, though the humor was tinged with truth. As they drove off, Maya pulled out her phone and began drafting an email to her team. She wasn't just going to let this be another story of triumph over adversity. She was determined to turn it into a teaching moment. Later that evening, Maya stood before her team in their bustling downtown office. The Maple Grove project had brought together a diverse group of architects, designers, and community leaders, all united by a shared vision to create affordable housing without sacrificing quality or dignity. The energy in the room was palpable as Maya recounted the day's events. "When I walked into that bank this morning, I thought it would be a simple transaction," she began, her voice steady. "But what I encountered was a stark reminder of the barriers we face, not just as professionals, but as people of color." Her team listened intently, their expressions ranging from outrage to admiration. Maya continued, her tone growing firmer. "This isn't just my fight, it's ours. And while today was a victory, it's also a call to action. We can't just build better neighborhoods, we have to build better systems." A round of applause erupted, followed by a flurry of ideas as the team brainstormed ways to integrate social advocacy into their work. Maya felt a swell of pride. This was the kind of ripple effect she had always hoped to create. Meanwhile, back at Summit Heights Bank, the fallout from the day's events was already in motion. Marcus called an emergency meeting with the board and senior staff to address the situation. The conversation was candid and unflinching, with Marcus outlining new policies to ensure equitable treatment of all customers. Harrison, whose behavior had sparked the upheaval, was notably absent from the meeting, having been placed on immediate administrative leave. By the end of the meeting, a sense of resolve filled the room. Marcus's voice carried the final word. This isn't just about saving face, it's about doing what's right. And from this point forward, that's exactly what we're going to do. The following week, Maya received a formal letter of apology from the bank, along with an invitation to speak at their upcoming Diversity and Inclusion Summit. While the gesture was appreciated, Maya knew the real work would happen in the trenches, in the policies implemented, the biases confronted, and the lives impacted. As she reflected on the experience, Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose. She thought of Liam, the junior employee who had shown courage in a difficult moment, and made a note to reach out to him. People like Liam were the future, and Maya intended to ensure they had the support and mentorship they needed to thrive. The next time Maya walked into Summit Heights Bank, it was for the task force's inaugural meeting. Liam greeted her at the door, his face bright with excitement. "Miss Thompson, it's such an honor to have you here." "The honor is mine," Maya replied, placing a hand on Liam's shoulder. "Let's get to work." As Maya entered the boardroom, the weight of her earlier experience lifted, replaced by the promise of meaningful change. She had turned a moment of injustice into a platform for progress, and she wasn't done yet. This is the kind of story that challenges us to confront uncomfortable truths, to demand better from ourselves and the systems around us. Maya's journey is a reminder that progress isn't always easy, but it's always worth fighting for. Do you stand up for change in her shoes? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that inspire action and hope.